Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday, July 8th B3 Live presentation. I want to welcome everyone that's tuned in from all across the country. Also want to welcome everyone that's watching this recorded presentation. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share with you a scientific breakthrough in exercise that is also, in many people, a solution or a big reduction to the pain. And you're going to learn some information tonight about pain and how you can deal with it or reduce it or eliminate it that you probably never heard before. So, exciting presentation. Let's get started with B3 bands. We call it the new way to exercise. Imagine exercising and doing light exercise from anywhere, work, home, the gym, when you travel, even airports, even outside when you're walking or inside doing chores. Imagine that exercise instead of being 45 minutes to an hour. Imagine that exercise now being less than 20 minutes. Imagine a same exercise that anybody from 8 years old to 90-year-old can do. And then imagine that it gives you better results than working out twice as hard and twice as long. And it creates less pain or reduces or eliminates pain in your body and promotes healing. It creates a growth hormone surge and can boost your immune system. And all of this is backed by science and studies. Well, the secret to health and longevity, as determined by Harvard and a great book, Younger Next Year, has told us what we already know. We need to be exercising every day. And the magic formula is simple. Unfortunately, very few of us can do it. It's 4 days a week of vigorous aerobic activity. I'm talking about 45 minutes of biking, jogging, swimming, or on the elliptical cardio machine, getting your heart rate up, and then 2 days a week of strength training and building muscle. This is the secret formula to living long and living healthy. It also deals with one of the major problems we have once we get to 35 years old and into our senior years, sarcopenia. And you can see right there, Harvard Med School is encouraging people to maintain their strength training and power as they age, because when you don't, you start losing muscle at 35 years old, and it increases 1 to 2% every year. Most people gain weight during this time, which means there's a dramatically higher level of body fat. And this predisposes us to heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, and arthritis. And we have a 1.5 to 4.5 times higher chance of being disabled. The solution to all of this is the same thing as the previous slide: strength and cardio training. Why does this aging process start? Because once we get into our 20s and then our 30s, our natural growth hormone production slows down to about 10% of what it was when we were a teenager. And this starts the aging process: wrinkles, low energy, low sex drive, cardiovascular disease, neurodegeneration of the brain, loss of bone density, arthritis, and pain. The solution is high-intensity exercise. Now, why is that so beneficial? Why are all the prestigious universities and doctors stressing that we've got to get this high-intensity exercise? Because when you do these things, it creates a fatigue response in your body, and you all know what it feels like. You feel the burn in the muscles or your legs when you're exercising. And what that does is it sends a signal to the brain. If you get your fatigue level low enough, down around 30% oxygen in the muscle, and it creates a natural growth hormone release 15 to 30 minutes after exercise. And this is the magic sauce. This is the growth hormone we're missing naturally that we can get from this vigorous exercise. But there's a problem. 99% of the population can't follow their recommendations. I mean, how many of us have an hour a day? Probably an hour and a half by the time we drive somewhere, change, exercise, change again, or shower and drive home. But the biggest problem we have is once we get into our 30s, 40s, and 50s, a very high percentage, close to 90% of the population, is dealing with some form of pain that limits their ability to do this high-intensity exercise. And then if we are doing it, most people aren't doing it high enough intensity, meaning if you just do a nice bike ride or some light weightlifting at the gym or go for a nice walk on the treadmill for 20 minutes, that doesn't get growth hormone because it's not high intensity. And now we're stuck with being at home, and many of us can't get to the gym. The bottom line is, even though every doctor tells us what we need to do, very few of us can actually do it. And here's a slide that shows exactly what's going on. This is people on the left side of the slide doing bicep curls. Imagine that you're at the gym and you do arm curls, 3 sets on the machine or weights until you feel the fatigue. Your oxygen level drops down to about 35%, or what we call the fatigue point. And if you can get down there really low, around 35%, you can get a small growth hormone release. But remember, most people aren't exercising hard enough to get any. We'll come back to this other chart in a second. This is why B3 bands are a scientific breakthrough. They have over 40 years of research in Japan. When it came to the United States 4 to 5 years ago, it was proven in all of our USA, not all, but many of our USA Olympic athletes, and then proven in everyday people and recreational athletes, even people who had arthritis, autoimmune disorders, tendonitis, fibromyalgia. And then we took it out to the general population, and now we're about 18 months old, and over 6,500 people have experienced the growth hormone, the high intensity results, and the reduction in pain and healing from B3 bands. And it's even proven to boost your immune system. So before we tell you why it works, who are some of these 6,500 people? It's busy moms and dads like Brandon up there in the top left corner. It is kids, middle schoolers, elementary schools, teenagers exercising better. It's people like Dr. Freeman in Tyler, Texas, who has arthritis and couldn't put on muscle because he couldn't lift hard enough. It's people over there to the right like Kathy and Ronnie. Ronnie has a bad knee. He can't exercise or run. He's stuck. All these different types of people, busy moms and dads, kids and seniors, athletes at all levels, people in pain. Not only those people, but professionals, athletes like the Kansas City Chiefs and the USA Olympic team, and Vinny up there in the top left-hand corner, a 3-time world champion martial artist, USA Volleyball, NFL players. Down there in the bottom left corner, Mark Wahlberg, the movie star. And now we have a big group of personal trainers, athletic trainers, physical therapists, and doctors joining. I want to make sure I give a special thanks always to Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson, our BFR science advisor that developed the B3 bands. Along with myself, we make up the B3 BFR team. Dr. Jim's the #1 expert in the world, and I would put myself right up there in the top 10 in the world of people that understand this technology. Now, why does it work? Well, look at what these people are putting on their arms and legs right there. They put this band around their arms and legs. It takes about 10 seconds to put on. Anybody can do it. And then they hook up a manual pump, and they just pump a little bit of air into it. And it safely slows down only the venous blood flow. It's not like a blood pressure cuff. It's not cutting off or impeding arterial flow. You're not going to feel your artery thumping. It's a gentle squeeze, but it's just enough that it slows down oxygen into the muscles. And here's what you notice. As soon as you start doing light exercise, your muscles start to fatigue or burn like you're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of work that you're actually doing. You're doing light exercise, but your muscles are fatiguing very fast. This is one of the reasons people in pain can do this, because they can tolerate light exercise like walking or swimming or lifting very light weights. Now, once they feel the burn in their muscles, they are now fatiguing at a level that typically requires high intensity exercise. And they're doing it in half the time with half the weight. The result is they get a big growth hormone surge after this 10 to 15 minutes of exercise, like they're training like an elite level athlete. And they get a boost to their immune system, and they get another substance release that is magic sauce for pain, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And because it's so easy to do, most people experience no pain when they're doing it and need no recovery after it's done. Now, what's it look like on that same graph or study? Look over here at the bottom right. Look how deep these people are getting in fatigue. The only difference is these same men put the bands on their arms, they're lifting half as much weight, and look how deep they're fatiguing. 20% fatigue, 10% fatigue, 5% fatigue. Fatigue levels they've never reached. Most of you on this call, I would say 25 out of 26 people, 39 out of 40, 49 out of 50 have never experienced this type of growth hormone release. And here's a study proving it. This was done on middle-aged men who only do light exercise. They had a 25 times increase in growth hormone. Now, let me share with you the first profound thing you're going to learn tonight. When you exercise with B3 bands and do light exercise, you're going to experience a growth hormone release that most of you have never experienced in your entire life. And you're going to get it every single day. That is an absolute game changer for your health. Here's why. This is quotes from prestigious medical universities. Growth hormone can reverse the manifestations of aging by 5 to 15 years. There's no other single therapy currently available that can have the impact on the aging of the body that growth hormone can have. And growth hormone can reduce wrinkles, tighten saggy skin, decrease body fat, increase lean muscle mass, boost energy, rev up sex drive, and make you look, and the big one, feel decades, not years, but decades younger. Growth hormone, everyone, turns back the clock, and it promotes healing in your body. There's nothing else that will do it. There's no pill, there's no drug, there's no surgery. There's only one substance that is known to man in nature, and it's human growth hormone that's sitting right in your body, ready to be released. Guess what else BFR does? It creates a big boost to your immune system. Tonight, we won't spend a lot of time on that, but a study done, and there's a reference to the study below, shows that BFR boosts your natural white blood cell killer cells by up to 10-fold. Exactly what all of us need right now. If you want to strengthen your immune system and give yourself the best chance at protection, do BFR every day. How about people who have decreasing bone density or osteoporosis? Studies show that there's a 35 times increase in the markers of increased bone density, specifically bone-specific alkaline phosphatase. And this study was done on women who did 3 weeks of walking. No going to the gym, no hiring a trainer, no buying a $4,000 home gym, putting the bands on and going for a walk. Cardiovascular benefits. Studies prove that your cardiovascular system gets stronger. So if you're worried that you have high blood pressure or diabetes, if you're able to exercise, unless you have a few very serious conditions, which you'll learn about on our safety and instructions card, you'll be able to not only do this exercise, but your cardiovascular system gets younger and gets stronger and gets healthier. Remember what Harvard said, 45 minutes, 4 days a week of vigorous aerobic activity. You can put the bands on and go for a walk and get it in 10 minutes. Now let's share with you the secret tonight that's going to unlock millions of people from having pain. The problem with pain, like fibromyalgia, arthritis, tendinitis, nagging injuries, autoimmune disorders like multiple sclerosis, is that there's so much pain that exercising becomes impossible. And then you're stuck. And there's people on this call that know that, and there's people on this call that were previously stuck, and all of you probably know 50 to 100 people that are stuck in this horrible pain cycle. They can't get the exercise they need. And here's the secret. What's really happening in your body when you have this pain is a lack of blood flow and oxygen to these tissues, these muscles, these joints, these tendons, these nerves that are starving for better blood flow. These are quotes from studies, the National Institute for Health, and prestigious universities. Musculoskeletal pain due to ischemia. Ischemia is lack of oxygen from poor blood flow. Is present in a variety of conditions, including pain syndrome and fibromyalgia. Another study revealed that arthritis, as soon as you get wear and tear in a joint, it causes a decrease in joint oxygen saturation. When you don't have oxygen coming in from good blood, the arthritis accelerates and you are stuck and you cannot get away from it. Here's another one. It takes longer to strengthen tendons. You ever heard of tendinitis? Elbow tendinitis, knee tendinitis, patellar tendinitis, rotator cuff tendinitis, Achilles tendinitis. It takes longer to strengthen and heal tendons and ligaments because they get less blood flow. And guess what happens when you injure a tendon? You just injure it a little bit, or you get some inflammation in a tendon. Because there's poor blood flow, you're stuck, just like fibromyalgia, and you can't get away from it. Look at the picture of the lady running right there. That's the solution. The solution is vigorous exercise, which stimulates blood flow, which these injured areas of your body are starving for. Unfortunately, most of us, I'm the same way. Unfortunately, before I got a hold of the B3 bands, I had gone through 2 joint replacements. Joints that did not have good blood flow, arthritis that deteriorated, and I lost those joints. I could have saved them if I would have had these bands 15 years ago. But here is the solution. Now look at the person sitting there. They've got the bands on their arms and they're doing light exercise. Now, remember what I taught you. Because there's less oxygen in the muscle fatigues very quickly with easy exercise that doesn't make you hurt. And then your body starts producing lactic acid. You know what that is. It's the burn. This triggers your cardiovascular system to release a substance called nitric oxide. And it is magic for pain. What does nitric oxide do? We'll get to it in a minute on the next slide. Now, remember, people in pain cannot exercise vigorous enough to get the burn in the muscles to release the lactic acid and then stimulate the quick release of nitric oxide. But when you put the bands on, everybody can do it. And I'm going to show you some people that are doing it. Now, what does nitric oxide do? Well, first, look over there on the left. Look at the chart with the graph there and the columns that are clear. That's the increased production of 2 substances on the right, nitric oxide, showing that when you do BFR, there is a huge increase of nitric oxide. Now, what does nitric oxide do? It comes out of your blood vessels and, read along with me up there, it increases blood flow to the entire body, including painful tissues that are what? Starving for blood flow. You ever exercised and got into that high, or you're on the elliptical machine and you go for a run and you get warmed up and you get pumped up and you get that high and that brain utopia and all your joints feel good? That was nitric oxide. Now every single person can get this. What happens when you get blood flow? This blood flow, what is blood doing? It's bringing oxygen into these painful tissues to reduce inflammation and pain. What is the result of this nitric oxide? Here's what you feel. You immediately feel your muscles and joints warming up very fast. You immediately start noticing pain being reduced and stiffness going away, which then allows you to do what? Break through and get into that vigorous exercise that is a life changer that every doctor tells us we need, and produce growth hormone. Then what does growth hormone do? Growth hormone is then released 15 to 30 minutes after exercise. And remember what Harvard said, it turns back the clock 5 to 15 years. It promotes healing. It reduces inflammation. And it allows these areas of your body that have struggled to heal to start healing. And I'll tell you what else it does. When people feel this, they get a huge psychological boost. They can exercise again. Their depression goes away. Let me give you a couple examples. Estes and Kathy, they're in their 80s. Their days of exercising vigorously and getting growth hormone were gone years ago. But they'll go for a light swim. But in this swim, they can't swim hard enough to get a release of nitric oxide. Now they go for a light swim. Within minutes, they feel the nitric oxide. They get energized and they can get a vigorous swim. They don't hurt. They get a growth hormone release and their body anti-ages. And I can spend 5 minutes with you telling all the things that have changed in their life because they're getting growth hormone. Here's Dusty. Dusty has multiple sclerosis. When I met Dusty, she wasn't manically depressed, but she was frustrated and depressed because she can't exercise like she used to. Her multiple sclerosis causes her too much pain. This isn't somebody that's in her 50s and 60s. This is a young lady in the best years of her life that can no longer exercise. What happens when she puts the demands on? She does light exercise. The nitric oxide comes out fast. She now gets a reduction in pain, and she can start exercising vigorously with no pain. And she noticed very quickly increase in strength, increase in stamina, increase in endurance. And guess what else she noticed? No pain after she exercised. She could not believe it. And of course, it helped her depression. And right there is a study at the University of Illinois on people doing training with BFR who have multiple sclerosis and getting large changes in leg strength. Next, Jennifer. Jennifer's from North Carolina. Jennifer, in her early 30s, after being very active all her life, came down with fibromyalgia. Imagine being in your 30s and living in constant pain and fatigue. I'm going to give you an exact quote from her. The pain in my upper limbs and back would be so bad, I would just want to cut them off or even stab them with a knife. That's how bad this lady had gotten to, who had been athletic all through high school and college, and obviously it causes depression. Thank God that Janine, her sister, introduced her to B3 Mans. Here's the short summary of her story. Very quickly, when she started exercising, she noticed pain going away. What's happening? Nitric oxide. She's warming up. And then she's getting growth hormone after the exercise, which stimulates the healing in these painful areas of her body. Since then, she's gone on from being debilitated to running multiple half marathons and completed a full marathon. She says, I now have muscle, energy, and I'm no longer depressed. I never thought any of this was possible. Remember, this started in her early 30s. She's been dealing with this for 15 years until she found B3 Mans. Every one of you knows probably dozens, if not 100 people who are suffering from this. Maybe they didn't even tell us about it. They're dealing with pain. Next, how many of us have ever had arthritis? That's me. I had arthritis in my knee. I had no option. I had no B3 Mans, and I never got that needed blood flow and oxygen in there, and I lost my knee. I had to get it replaced. Here's Tim. Tim's a senior pickleball player. Now, Tim is a certified doctor of nutrition. He's one of the smartest people you'll ever meet, which means he knows everything there is he can take to help his knee. Yet his knee would always hurt the next day after exercise to where he could barely walk on it, which made it difficult for him to play pickleball. And his knee was always swollen, not just after exercise, always from the arthritis, from the inflammation. And he'd have to wear a knee brace. The pain and swelling would limit his ability to play and his normal activities of daily life. Tim was introduced to the bands by Scott Moore on the pickleball circuit. Tim says within 2 weeks of using the bands, doing 10 to 15 minutes of light exercise, he noticed, he looked down at his knee and his knee was not swollen. Now, how is that possible? A knee that was swollen is no longer swollen. Nitric oxide, better blood flow into the area, reduces inflammation. Growth hormone is released after the exercise and starts healing the area. He had this for 20 years and it was gone in 2 weeks. He now has no pain when he plays and no pain the next day. And his exact quote, "I never thought any of that was possible." And this isn't somebody who is just a normal person. He's one of the smartest nutrition doctors I know, and he's tried everything. Why did this happen? He is now able to exercise, not play pickleball. Pickleball is not stimulating growth hormone, everyone. Love the sport. It's not producing growth hormone because you're not in that good, hard burn that you need. Now he's getting nitric oxide. He's getting better blood flow, and he's getting growth hormone. So guess what he does before he plays pickleball? You guessed it. He puts the bands on for 5 minutes, gets warmed up, gets nitric oxide going, takes it off, and he's ready to play. How about people who won't exercise? Maybe you know some seniors, some people, some neighbors, your grandparents, your uncle, and maybe all they'll do is go for a walk. Ronnie had arthritis in his knee to the point where he could barely even walk. Him and Kathy had tried every weight loss program. They've tried dozens of them and have never been able to maintain weight loss. But they told me, Mike, we're not going to the gym. We're not going to work out, but we'll go for a walk. I said, great. Let's put the bands on and go for a walk. Now when they walk, they start feeling the burn within minutes. They get the nitric oxide release. Ronnie's knee starts feeling better from the increased blood flow from the nitric oxide. They both get growth hormone release. And not only did his pain go away, but they lost 40 pounds together walking over 6 weeks and maintained it because they simply go for a walk 4 to 5 days per week. So as you hear this, realize you don't have to go to the gym. If you like the gym, great. You can just put these on and walk the dog, mow the yard, clean the house. As long as you create enough fatigue or burn in your muscles, you're going to get this magic nitric oxide and growth hormone. And a study of 12,000 people concluded that BFR training is safe for healthy people and can be applied to various kinds of disease processes, including cerebrovascular disease, orthopedic disease, obesity, cardiac diseases, neuromuscular diseases, diabetes, hypertension, and respiratory diseases. The rule on BFR with our bands, which are the safest, if a person is released by their doctor to do a exercise, they can walk, they can run, they can jog, they can bike, they can lift weights, they can do the same thing with the bands and get these results. So how do you get started? And if you're using the bands, how do you get your friends started? Start thinking now of everybody you know who's in pain or who's out of shape or who's limping or who's grabbing their shoulder, and share with them this recorded presentation that I'm going to put on YouTube in 15 minutes after the end of this presentation. So number one, tell them you care about them, and then show them this presentation. If you're watching this and you're not using the B3 bands, I'm going to give you 30 days to experience the nitric oxide and growth hormone. And if for any reason your pain is not improved, I'm going to buy them back from you. 100% money back guarantee. That's how much I'm convinced. And I'm going to, as a free service to you, I'm going to have one of our coaches teach you exactly how to use these so you can start feeling better like all these other people in 30 days. And I'm only going to ask one favor. And the person who's sharing it with you, all of our wonderful coaches across the country, when you start feeling better, I've got two favors to ask. Thank the person who shared these with you, and don't keep it a secret. Help us share it with people all across the country. Now, as soon as you buy your B3 band, not only are we going to give you a coach, but we're going to be there to answer any questions you have. So we've got 5 very simple programs. You can walk. You can do a program to lose weight, get in shape, build muscle, perform better. There's all kinds of different programs. We'll send them to you. They're easy to follow. And then when you have any questions, just reach out to us. And my guarantee to you as the president of the company, if you don't experience a big reduction in pain, call us within 30 days. Not 30 days from when you order, 30 days from when you get them in your hands. If you're not completely satisfied, 100% money back guarantee. Plus our bands come with a 12-month warranty. And I know many people watching this are probably having some financial challenges. If for some reason you don't want to purchase them on your credit card, you can even do our 0 down, 0% interest program, which means you can make 6 payments for less than $100 a month, about $75 per month over 6 months with our PayPal payment program. So you got many ways to get started. And then finally, I know all of you know some people that we could help. Right now, we have an exercise revolution going on all across the country, helping people get out of pain, helping people like you get in the best shape of your life, and now helping free millions of people with pain. And in our company, I'm only going to talk about this for about 15 seconds. We are a network marketing company that shares 40% of our sales back to people who care enough to share with other people. If that interests you, this is a great way for you to add a substantial income by simply helping people. If it doesn't, just be a customer. Either way, we're here to help you get in the best shape of your life and get freed up from pain. So I want you to get back to the person who invited you to watch this presentation. And then there's a picture of me there. I'm 56 years old, in probably the best shape of my life thanks to the B3 bands. I want you to join us on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, go out and search hashtag IamB3 and join our Facebook group and see all the wonderful stories that are out there. I want to thank you for attending this presentation. Again, if you're watching the live presentation or recorded, and this is the first time you're seeing this about the B3 bands, get back to the person who referred you, and they will help get you started and get you plugged into one of these programs that will help you be healthy, be fit, be strong, and hopefully be pain-free. Thanks for attending tonight.